It's a pleasure to be up here. I'm really excited to be sitting here with these three incredible athletes. It's going to be a wonderful panel discussion, and it's actually fitting well in line with some of the work that I've been doing, kind of perspectives on competition, trying to understand what goes on inside the head of an elite athlete and how they approach competition, how they tick, and how competition in the athletic arena applies to life outside of sports. So this is the perfect opportunity for me to pick your brain and for the audience to hear some wonderful commentary from all of you. So I'm excited. Yeah. And with that, I'd like to kind of allocate this time to you. So maybe about 30 seconds you could each take to maybe introduce yourself, give us a little background.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. So my name is Mark Madsen. I graduated in 2000, and I was fortunate enough to play basketball here. By the end of my time here, we had a really good team. I think in huge part to the fact that we had Jason and Jaron Collins, who were from Los Angeles, who committed to come in 96 is when they committed. When we got their letter, there used to be a bell in the athletic department that people would ring when a major event happened, and they were ringing that bell that day. And that was really a huge catalyst in taking our program to the next level. Then after that, played in the NBA for 9 years.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Burdett from Jackson, Georgia. I was an American Studies major here. I can't really talk about my experiences at Stanford without talking about the fact that my older brother, older sister, and younger sister all play collegiate tennis. My older brother at West Point, older sister here, graduated in 2005. My little sister's a sophomore on the team now. I had an incredible time here at Stanford. My older sister won 3 team championships, and I got 1 this past year, my senior year, and hopefully many more for my little sister. So,
I'm Nessa Ogumake, and I'm on the women's basketball team here. I'm a junior. I study psychology, and I'm not sure, as many of you may know, we've had a lot of good fortune in our women's program. Still trying to get over that small little hump, but I definitely have to say that my experiences here at Stanford have been worthwhile, especially with the teammates and the coaches and the overall, I guess, academic experience. I've truly immersed myself, and I'm really happy to say that I have 1 more year here.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'd like to start off this discussion by throwing this back to all of you to focus on Stanford athletics and your experience here on the farm. So each of you you're currently or were at one point a Stanford athlete. So I'd like to perhaps hear about your most defining or most memorable Stanford experience out on the athletic court.
All right, I'll start. I would say one of the most memorable experiences for me actually took place within the team concept, but just in a training session. And Coach Montgomery, he would send out a letter, over the summer, and it would say, be in shape when you arrive on campus, because within a week or 2 after you arrive on campus, I'm going to time you guys running the mile. If you're a guard, you should be 5 minutes and 30 seconds or less. If you're a big guy, you should be 6 minutes or less. And so I got the letter freshman year and, ran almost a 7-minute mile. And after I ran that mile, I was the last one. He got everyone together and he said, I love it when we run the mile because I can see into the heart of a man and know what he's made of. and I just come in last. Now, I was mad at him because right before the mile, he put me through a 45-minute workout, and everyone else was resting up. And so I was a little bit, I didn't have the communication skills to approach him afterwards and say, hey, you call me out like that? Well, don't put me through the workout before the mile. But that was a great lesson, and from that point on, I trained for that mile, which has direct application to basketball. And I got a lot better at it. And just knowing that I could really focus on something and do it helped me grow as a person a lot.
Well, my first experiences here on the farm actually dated back to when my older sister was a freshman. And I saw them, I think I was 13 or 14, win a national championship against the University of Florida here just 200 yards away at that stadium. And I watched my older sister clinch it her freshman year. And I was traveling all over internationally even at that point, and people were saying, oh, when you're a professional tennis player and, you're out at Wimbledon or whatever and professional at 17, and every time I would hear them say things like that, I'd be like, no, No, I'm going to Stanford first. There's no way I'm forfeiting what I saw Aaron do out there before. Maybe I'll go professional afterwards, but not before. And then the other defining moment was actually not when we won the national championship, but when we lost in the round of 16 my junior year to Baylor for the second year in a row. And I knew I was a senior. I was the only senior in my class, and I knew that I would be a big leader coming up my senior year, whether I was captain or not. And I remember just getting together with everyone, putting our heads together after the loss, and even the single senior that was a year ahead of us and would be gone the next year, we sat there and we hashed out what we were going to do differently the next year, and we ended up, it was the beginning of the road to a national championship. So.
My most defining moment here was definitely December 30th, 2010. It's actually quite interesting because it was just one game, but the preparation that we went through for that one game was, I want to say maybe about 6 weeks before that. And I just remember preparing for that game day by day. We were competing so hard, and I saw how much everyone really wanted it. Obviously, what Connecticut did was really great, breaking the UCLA streak. But when we came in that day, I could sense it in my teammates and even in the crowd. I think that's the loudest crowd I've ever played in. And it was just the heart and the determination, and I felt a true connection to my teammates. And to be able to share a special moment like that here at Maples was really great. And we got a lot of support, and I was very thankful for that. And I wouldn't have to say that beating them per se was the biggest moment of my life, but of my basketball life so far. But I think what we did as a team was so monumental because we put our minds to what we wanted to do, and we were able to stop UConn's streak. Obviously, that made headlines in newspapers the next day, but what most people didn't realize is that we were competitive, and we were able to really come together as a team and as a unit and to express ourselves and how much we work and how dear we hold this program to us, and really come out on top that day, and that was really great. And I also have to say that another really monumental game was actually the game before that. The game before that, we played Xavier, and I'm not sure if people really remember it. Jeanette Poland went down the court in 4.4 seconds and made that layup. And so they were coming in very angry, and we ended up beating them by 37, and a lot of people don't really realize that. And I thought that was a really great game because we didn't want them to come in and do whatever they wanted to do on Maples. And I think that the way that we defended Maples, those two games, was really special. And I saw a lot of exciting things that day. It was really great.
Incredible. And it's funny because the day that you beat UConn was one of the most defining days for my Stanford undergraduate career, too, because I've been following women's basketball, and to see you take down UConn at home in Maples Pavilion when it was the loudest that I had ever heard it. Unbelievable and inspiring. My whole gymnastics team was there. We were sitting in the audience cheering you guys on. Wonderful. So, great. Awesome, guys. And now I'd like to transition into some more lessons learned from your collegiate and professional careers. So, I know we've all, as Stanford athletes, experienced dedication, passion, perseverance, hard work, the fruits of our labor. So I'd be interested to hear what lessons you may have learned from your sport, and if at all they have transferred to other aspects of your life.
Oh, I can start with this one. I think I tell this to every freshman that comes in. I've told this to my sister, and I've actually explained it to my coaches. I think the biggest transition, I guess, coming from high school and understanding the university level is, any person or student athlete that is coming into the university level to compete is good. You just have to be good to compete at the university level. But what defines people that continue to succeed, I believe, is understanding what is needed from you when you get to college. Because a lot of student athletes expect to just automatically be the star of their team due to past circumstances because, they might have been the highest scorer on their high school team or on their club team. And I think that the true transition A seamless transition would be to understand what your team needs from you and to get better incrementally. It's not about a huge big bang. And I think that once an athlete understands that it literally takes the small things to make a big impact, then they'll truly gain the best of their experiences at a university competing level.
Just going straight off of that, I mean, I was so fortunate to have older siblings that had gone through this team experience and seen how they worked their way onto a team, how they gained the respect of their coaches and teammates. And the exact same thing in tennis. It's even harder in tennis because it's an individual sport that's kind of thrown together into a team format. And so you have, I mean, Stanford tennis is known for our prima donna tennis players, whether it's, you know, the men's players or the women's players. They're known for being big personalities and kind of thinking that they run the show. But truly the people who gained the most from their college tennis experience were people who came in with an open mind, realized that they might be sitting on the bench just because there are 6 other people who are not only good, but have put in more time than them. So it's not that, you know, straight playing wise, they're 7th on the team, but it's just because there are a ton of other good people out there too who've put in their time. And that's okay, because you will get your shot. And I think I mean, I'm applying for jobs right now, and I'm like, I promise I can work my way into your company because I know how to be the freshman on the team. I know how to not pretend like I know exactly what I'm doing. And I can listen. I can be a student of whatever you need me to be a student of. And learn whatever you ask me to learn and do it to the best of my ability day in and day out. And I hope that those skills apply as well as I think they will. So.
Just to add to what's been said by Lindsay and Nneka, I'll share 2 quick stories from the NBA. The first is, they both have to do with relationships. The first story is this. I was sitting with a media member before a game in Minnesota, and we got to talking about an article that he had written in the newspaper about one of my teammates. I said, I saw the piece you did. You know, you were a little bit hard on him, you know. And he said, yeah. And I'm recreating the story to the best of my memory. He said, yeah, you know, we were on a road trip one time, and you know, I happened to be staying in your guys' hotel. And this player in question had walked through a door and slammed the door in my face. So the media member told me. And he said, do you think that every time I get to rip him, I'm not going to rip him? I'm going to rip him every time. And that opened my eyes to a reality of life, whether it's sports, business, anything. The importance, I just got back from a business school trip to Israel, and we met with one of the top investors in the country. And his whole message, you know, we thought it was going to be one thing. His whole message was, be nice to other people. That was his entire message. And it was very profound. And the level of success this guy had attained was huge. So that's kind of the first story. And then as a side note to that, he said, read such and such's column in the Chicago Tribune. And notice that whenever he talks about a certain player, it's always glowing. And he said, you know why? And he said, because whenever possible, that player helps this columnist with stories as best he can, while staying within the lines of, you know, not revealing too much or too little. Second story is when I was playing for the Lakers, I was on a team with some, you know, as Lindsay mentioned, you know, and as we all know, sometimes sports, you know, has a lot of big personalities, and with that, big egos. You know, and you have to, because when you go out onto any one of these mediums, you have to believe in yourself. So in LA, we had that on some of the teams there, and sometimes there was some friction, sometimes there was a little bit of friction, but in general, it was a great working relationship. But I remember one time in a team meeting, Phil Jackson, one of the players wasn't there, and I can't remember who it was, but Phil said, well, who's got his cell phone number? And it was like 1 or 2 guys that had the cell phone number. And Phil just said, interesting, you know, and I don't think it was one of the main players. But then at the very end of the year, I was sitting there with Brian Shaw, who's now in line to become the next head